Hello my friends, and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be doing a retrospective of the version 0.1.20 release of Komorebi. If you have already viewed the live release video, you'll know that it was not the smoothest release. Quite a few things went wrong. There were a number of fixes that needed to be implemented on the fly, and actually after the conclusion of the video, after the release went out, there were two breaking bugs, I would say, that were found and had to be fixed, which resulted in the version 0.1.21 release. Yeah, it was wild, it was crazy. But I think we can all learn something if we take a look back at what went wrong. So, let's start by looking at the release commit. So this is Chore release v0.1.20, and this is the release in the video that I kept amending and force pushing on top of. GitHub again with the awful choice of fonts for doing diff comparisons. Let's make that a little bit bigger still. So the first thing, or at least the first thing on the diff here, is that I had not added the new Komorebi C no console executable to the list of artifacts to upload. So anybody who was relying on the GitHub tar.gz file, they were going to be out of luck if they installed, because this is now the executable that is used in the auto start, and it wasn't going to work for them because that was not in the build artifacts. So we added that. I believe we added that in the live video. Next up, this was a bug that I think took up 15-20 minutes of time on the live release video. And it was a really silly one, again related to this new binary. And I should have picked this up in the pull request that was submitted, but I didn't. And basically, yeah, you can see here Komorebi _no_ console. This should be dashes, because this is the name of the binary with dashes, and then this is the Go releaser format with the underscores. That was very frustrating. We had quite a few pipelines fail because of that. I think those were the two that caught us off guard during the live release. So, in addition to these, I later needed to make a pull request to Scoop directly. So this is the manifest on Scoop for Komorebi. I needed to do some updates anyway, so this is kind of deprecated now because we're not using await configuration with the dynamic configuration files anymore. So I updated the notes to point to the new documentation website and the new quick start guide. Then I added WHKD as one of the suggested binaries, and of course we had once again Komorebi C no console.exe missing from here. So when Scoop installs a package, what it does is it creates symlinks, first of all, from the version to a current folder, and it also creates shims. I'm not 100% sure why it uses shims, but it's kind of key to how it all works. And if you don't have a binary declared here, the shim for it won't get created. So this, thankfully, my good friend Sidium was around on the Discord, and he was able to merge this after I gave him a ping, as he has merge access on the extras bucket. So once again, Sidium saves the day. So that was another thing. And then, after that, we had this issue. And this issue was a funny one. This one was reported, I think, about an hour after the release went out. Somebody on the Discord had this really kind of weird error, and it wasn't even an error. It was really hard to debug because there was no output, and even when this user just ran komorebi.exe, it was exiting immediately. So Komorebi has this check. Let's see if we can expand this a little bit. So we have this check where, and this is necessary because of the way the Scoop uses shims. The shims have the same name as the executable. It's a little bit confusing. But because we only ever want to allow one instance of Komorebi to be running at a time, if we didn't have to worry about shims, we could just look up how many komorebi.exes are currently running. If that is more than 2 with, the instance that has just been started, then disallow this new instance, because then we're going to be doubling up. But because of the way it gets executed with Scoop, the shim is running at the same time as the actual Komorebi binary. So you have 2 komorebi.exe processes that get picked up. So the way that we looked that up previously was if the root ends, so root is a method on process in sysinfo, and if that ends in shims, then you can do, length of processes -1, because we're not really counting that one. Maybe we can take a look here. So if I go into Scoop and I go into shims, here we have all of the shims, right? And you can see it's got the same .exe.shim, but these are not the actual executables. The actual executables are, let's use Delta for example. You go here and you have the latest version, and then you have the symlinks in current, and then the shims refer to those, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But back to our issue. We had updated sysinfo to version 30. So let's have a look in the updates. So deps bump sysinfo from 29 to 30. We can look at the changelog, and here I can see, okay, retrieve process names on 32-bit platforms, memory swap computation, misaligned read, dependency stack updates, add thread kind, fix invalid memory retrieval, and actually wait, let me just... So there was an update here that targeted macOS correctly retrieve process root directory, but I think it changed something basically for the way this worked on Windows as well. And I think why don't we demonstrate this in real time? So I am going to downgrade sysinfo. So this is how it would have been in the 0.1.19 release of Komorebi. Sysinfo. And, well, this is the fix, but we'll do proc proc.root. And let's run this update here. And I think we can debug the output of this if all is well. Oh, this has changed a lot. So, you know what? I think maybe what a more sensible way of approaching this would be if we git check out v0.1.19. We'll do Komorebi c stop just install target. No, right. So we got to do just install Komorebi. Oh, and this is going to pick up some older dependencies, but that's okay. And of course we want to debug, which I forgot to do. So I will do debug proc.root. And we'll see what that returns for us. And it's going to return... Well, I hope I'm not wrong. Well, it worked at some point, so I assume if I just go back to the commit with that version of the dependency, it's going to work, and I won't be misleading you all, the viewers. But yeah, basically the root did used to return this. Now, hopefully this will do what I think it's gonna do. Oh, I need to pass the config. Nope. .config Komorebi.json. There we go. Whoa. Oh my god. Yeah. The things that I have to do in order to show that I am not crazy and that this all worked before. So, make that update real quick. And now, wait. Oh, right. So, because matched prox is not greater than 1. Alright, let's just do this. Like this. So we don't have it running through a shim, so it's not going to trigger this block because there's not greater than 1 processes running with the name komorebi.exe. I should really plan out these demonstrations in advance so that I don't have compilation issues. I don't know, maybe you all enjoy watching the compilation issues and me fumbling around aimlessly. Let me know in the comments if you do. Alright, so here we have proc.root is equal to wherever the binary is running from. So I ran cargo install, which means it's going to be put into the .cargo.bin folder. If this were running on a binary downloaded from Scoop, when you're running Komorebi exe, it's running the shim, and then the shim is running the actual binary. So this would be users, your username, Scoop, shims, and that would be the last path. And so this is on version 0.29 of sysinfo, and we upgraded to version 0.30 in our 0.1.20 release. So let's grab that, and let's do just install target Komorebi. Oh, well, actually, I should have added the debug before I started rebuilding, but that's okay. Sysinfo. And we will do the same sort of thing here. So now root returns a sum, but I think we don't really care about the sum. We'll just debug the output of the root function. Satisfy the borrow checker. Alright, so now let's run this. This is version 0.1.20 that had this issue. And... Huh? Wait. Where is the... Okay, here is the debug. So you can see that the root here is just C. And this is a breaking change, but it was not listed anywhere in the sysinfo breaking changes. At least not that I could see. So here I can see, process root returns an option path. Cool, got it. There was that Mac OS one, correctly retrieve process root directory. But, oh, actually there's a Windows one as well, correctly retrieve process root directory. But I don't know. I feel like it should have been a bit more explicit in the release notes that what is considered correct versus previously is now significantly different. And so the change that I made to fix that was here. So instead of comparing against the output of root, since root is now always the C drive or whatever drive the binary is running from, I now get the path of the executable, and if the executable path contains shims, we adjust the length of the matched processes to ignore the shim. This is not the most elegant way to handle this, I know, but I was incredibly stressed, and this is what I could come up with given the circumstances and the fear of having thousands of people about to upgrade through Scoop, having Komorebi just not start at all for them. So luckily that did not happen. I managed to get this next release out within, I think, 30 minutes of discovering this, and that was great. But there was still one more issue. So I'm just going to check. No, I'm gonna check out master, and I'm gonna install Komorebi. What am I doing? Just install target Komorebi. So yeah, there was one more thing, and it only impacted new users, which was very interesting. And somebody opened an issue for this that is now closed. Following documentation but unable to start Komorebi. This is like a nightmare scenario for me. I'm like, oh, I did the documentation, I tested the documentation, why isn't it working? So, this error in Japanese is, somebody else reported in German. I forget what it means exactly. Why don't we just quickly translate this? A network outage was detected it was like a socket error, basically, right? So, what's going on here? This was being installed for the very first time on this user's machine, and I created a brand new virtual machine, Windows 11 based, and I ran through the steps, and I was able to reproduce this. Absolutely nuts. So what had happened was something has changed. I'm not sure if it's in Windows, I'm not sure if it's in Rust, but we have this code right in Komorebi, and it has been in the code base for 2 years now. If I get up datadir, no, not there. I think it is. It's somewhere around here where you start. It's here. Basically, whenever you try and bind to this socket, in the past, this created the directory if it was not there. So let's head back into a git blame. On this line, and we can see that this was introduced 2 years ago, and it's been working for like multiple releases. People are installing this for the first time. I've done quick start videos on a brand new VM for the first time, and you know, if this directory doesn't exist, it got created when we bound komorebi.sock and started listening for messages on that socket. That stopped working. I do not know why that stopped working. It is incredibly frustrating because I didn't change anything and it just stopped working. Breaking changes outside of my scope of vision. It's very frustrating when things break and it's not because I did something. So I went ahead and quickly patched the documentation website, the quick start, to add this command, basically to create that directory for you. And I closed this ticket by adding I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. Here it is. By adding the creation of this directory, so local datadir, local appdir, Komorebi, standard file system create dir all, which will create that directory in any directories along the way if they don't exist. So in the quick start, when people run Komorebi quick start, if that doesn't exist, it is going to exist, and it is going to be created, rather, I should say, and then it will exist by the time the user runs the start command and the window manager tries to create that socket file. My goodness, what a mess. But that was the last of it. So I was not feeling particularly great about this release. I was really frustrated. I felt it went really badly. And you know, it's so stressful now because I first started this project as Yatta, and it didn't it had 146 stars. It did not have many users. And you know, I started Komorebi, and this has grown now to 6.1 thousand stars, 51,000 downloads. You cut that in half, maybe even less than half. Let's say, you know, conservative estimate, maybe there are 10,000 people who are using it. And I'm very, very aware that when I push a new release, the blast radius is just huge. And this isn't just a library where, you know, you can pin a version, you can roll back. This is software that is fundamental to the way that people interact with their machines. It's a human-computer interface in and of itself. And I carry a lot of stress from the responsibility that comes with releasing new updates. And it weighs on me very heavily. It weighs on me very heavily, and it makes me reluctant to release. And the last release before this one, it was on November the 10th, 2023. That was just before I got laid off. And so yeah, I guess that was 3 months between a release. I would like to try my best to release more frequently now. I know this intellectually, right? I know this as a software craftsman, that the smaller and more frequent your releases, the less likely you are to sneak in some big ugly breaking change or bug in a large change set, you know? So yeah, just some thoughts. I think I'll do a completely separate video about the stresses of open source. But hopefully, you know, if you're also somebody who has an open source project and you're watching this video, maybe you learned something from this. Maybe this was a didactic experience for you, as well as a traumatic experience for me. Yeah, let's wrap this one on up, and I'm gonna use the little trick that I learned so that I do not mistakenly show the details of private sponsors. Oh wow, 19 sponsors now. Damn, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So very, very special thank you to everybody who has been sponsoring between the last release and these recent releases. That's pretty much the entirety of the time that I have been unemployed after I got laid off, and you've all been a lifeline for me. I appreciate it very, very much. So without further ado, thank you to James, Sebastian, Pavel, EFL1P, private sponsor number 1, Chase, Maxwell, DM1681. This is actually the user that found out first and reported the bug related to Scoop and the shim, so thank you very much, DM1681. Thank you, Red Lobster. Thank you, Darian, Kwang, Surefire, Solomon, Alex, private sponsor number 2, Evan, Alex, Julian, and Hisayuki. Thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. If you too would like to become a sponsor because you love this project, we all love this project, you can head on over to the sponsor page where you can become a one-time sponsor, you can become a monthly sponsor, and even if it's just $1 a month, it really, really makes a huge difference to me. If, however, you are not in a position to become a sponsor, the very, very next best thing that you can do is hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. We are now monetized, fully monetized, so that means you can leave tips on the tutorial videos if you want, and the channel also receives very, very meager at this point ad revenue, but ad revenue nonetheless. So if you are interested in the development of Komorebi, if you'd like to see what it is like maintaining a large, widely used open source Rust project, yeah, subscribe, watch the videos, the live coding videos. I hope that they are useful for other people. And actually, I know they're useful because people say that they are, but I hope that they are useful for you, dear viewer. Alright, my friends. That is it for this time. I hope that whatever you all do today, you have a great, great day. Free Palestine, and I'll see you all back here next time.